Buenos dias, senor and senorita. Good morning. Let's see, what kind of information should I impart this morning? Okay, well, experience is the teacher, right? And experience is experiencing the neuron transmitters. What are the neuron transmitters? The ion channels communicating to us. Antennas, receivers, transmitters, You know what a repeater station is on top of a mountain, a microwave repeater. Gets a signal, repeats it, so that it can send it out so others can get it. Well, that's what your neurons do. So that's electrical density consciousness, which is essentially how much are you aware of. How fast can you send a signal communication through your neurons? Ion channels, right? How long do you think it would take for a source to communicate all the way up the ladder, all the way up the echo? How long does that take? How fast does electronic communication take between everything that is aware of itself? Okay, because that's what it is. How much you aware of at any given moment? Well, it depends on what you choose to experience. So imagine this. The Chinese fleet sitting off the coast, say, of the South China Sea, and all of a sudden you're looking at it, and the next thing you know, it's gone. What? Yeah, we erased it. How'd you do that? Delete it from memory. Wow, you can do that? Big-ass neurons can do that. Of course. Watch a child with a piece of paper. They start drawing, and they're happy and full of joy, right? And they start drawing all kinds of stuff. They can even build a model fleet, go into a hobby store, pick up a battleship of the USS Missouri during World War II, where the surrender was signed with General MacArthur, the Japanese, right? And World War II, right? Okay, so what are you doing? You're putting together something with your mind, okay, in a binary way, a model. And you go, here's a replica. And you're holding that in memory. And we know that because 10 minutes after you build it, in your own mind, you can go back to the past and go, in your mind, it's there. Then you can go look at it. So imagine that you had drawn that on a piece of paper and you decided, I don't want to experience that battleship anymore. So what do? You erase it with the eraser on the pencil. That's called uncreation. So you just uncreated what you created. That's called programming matter density. Programming the matter using your holographic quantum consciousness to do it with, and then you chose to erase it through the same process. Wow. Really? Yes. You're the chooser of your holographic experiences on the quantum level. Okay? That's simple stuff. That's why this is a classroom. So they wanted to commit self-suicide, and we're going to accommodate them. They didn't want to have peace with us, okay? So when Patty Broussard said, we're going to proceed to eliminate them, eradicate them, get out your popcorn. So that's what I experience when I'm in here. I'm looking at people that come through this door every day that are committing self-suicide. Abuse leads to self-abuse. They don't love themselves. They don't love themselves anymore. So you know the kind of electrical density quantum consciousness they're running, right? Lower density. So if you want to climb the ladder, you better get your light up, which is your love up. Restore yourself. I got a guy, as I mentioned before, that I've been working with every day, and you want to know where he thinks all the answers are? In a book. That's something that is external to him, that's on the paper. He's got to go deep inside. The answers are inside of you. How do I know that? Because that's where I find them. I get it through my neurons. That's why I mention in all my videos, when I was a kid and I was 4 years of age, I read a newspaper and I realized right away, it's a spiritual battlefield, which is an energy battlefield, which is a quantum consciousness battlefield. Which means, okay, I get it. I'm stuck here for the duration. I'll be here. I'll get through it. Even though I had to go through all the experiences that I did, which were not pleasant. So obviously, when I decided that I was going to hang out with a demon as a way to kill pain and restore all the light in my neurons, I decided to play with a demon. And I'm going, why am I doing this to myself? Abuse leads to self-abuse. That's why I was abused. Losing my son because of somebody else is major trauma. When you're giving a child who's 3 years old eternal light, which is eternal love. So that's like having a student being stripped away from you because you know the potential, the electrical potential, that the knowledge that we learn through wisdom, the wisdom of Sophia, that small child could have learned through somebody who learned it through his first teacher, which is Sophia. So I was denied the opportunity to impart that knowledge to that 3-year-old little boy. Because we understand what the result of that is, don't we? So when I think about this, from a teacher's perspective and a student's perspective, I think about, for example, why isn't there any female energy in here? Now, I know because I spent the better part of 8 years in the behavioral sciences, right? They gave me a piece of paper that gives me a master's in education, and I went into all the different fields of health science education, basically the whole gamut. Just processed an enormous amount of information that relates to everything about health education. So we're talking about learning here, behavioral learning. So what I'm thinking about here is that if they want to improve the healing, okay, which means the success rate of the people that are in there, so that the reason that they came in here in the first place, they're not going through a turnstile like you do in a supermarket. We know how to do that. That comes from healing. That means focusing on what happened, how you arrived at the point at which you did. That's called self-discovery. Once you've learned how you got where you got and you don't want to be there anymore, we will help you to restore yourself from what happened. Because it starts with abuse. So when you realize that it starts with abuse, it leads to self-abuse, which is why you're here, then who do you think knows how to heal you more than anybody else? Because we did studies. One of the reasons they began putting females into male prisons and jails is to do what? Monitor the behavior, because the statistics is all there. Look at the results. Because a little boy has stored in memory the first sound vibration of a soul that is in the womb of a mother. Okay? That first sound vibration is what love is. So they have love in memory, and that love that is in memory came from a mother. So they remember that love comes through a girl's heart. When a girl's heart is inside of a place, when somebody coming through the front door who's been abused, there is the electrical potential for that being to heal. Because that's what they need from the abuse, including the self-abuse. So I'm sitting here and observing a lot of self-abuse. Right? So in other words, they're committing self-suicide because of what happened to them. They don't want to live no more. They don't have any more love through their heart. They don't experience that. So this is what I call a retard factory. They're never going to heal in here. So essentially what they do is they're participating in using their energy to do what? Participate in a war crime. Go look at Trump's executive order. Now, I mentioned this to Brian, who's the guy who is, I guess he's second in command here, right? Who doesn't know shit for Shinola. I told him he was a Nazi because he is. Okay? So these are things that the light exposes, okay? He's got no love to give to himself any more than he has to give to you. Or people would be healing in here. He would be putting females in here, healers in here, medicine women in here, Indians in here. He doesn't even know that much. So this is just another measurement, right, of a classroom. What people learned, what they didn't learn, what was possible. Remember, infinite possibilities, infinite creative imagination. How intelligent are you? Right? So they run a stupid operation here. Nobody's going to get healed in here. Basically, all it is, it's like an old fact. If you go back into the history of America in the 1930s, Ford Motor Company, I believe it was, GMC. So remember, everybody was being trained to work for corporations, so that means that when you went to their schools, you were simply being trained to be a slave for them. That's how it works. So what they did back in the 30s, this was right after the Depression, is that you could go to work for General Motors, Ford Motor Company, and be a slave in one of their factories, okay, producing pollution machines that burn up the consciousness of the planet. They didn't even know that much. Burning up oil is burning up the consciousness of the girl on the planet. They didn't know that either. So yeah, you can come in and work in our factory so we can produce machines that are burning up the consciousness of the girl on the planet. And guess what? We'll provide a place for your energetic body to hang out in a building, okay, of concrete and dead wood, wired up with electrons in order to drain your energy. So that's essentially what they do here. Come on in. We're going to drain your energy. We'll just reinforce low-density consciousness experiences. That's not love and service to others, is it? Well, that's how you graduate out of this classroom on this planet. So they're going in reverse. So what happens when you're going in reverse? On a quantum level, you don't graduate. Right? So that's recycle bin, restoration. Got to be restored. So that's the quantum measurement. Okay, so measure it on a building size and then measure it on a quantum scale across the planet. You begin to understand that you're in a quantum information field. So how much information are you processing on a planetary scale?